The 4Ps, parlays, player props, and predictions. NFL Week 2 Sunday. I got a bunch of props, including my biggest play of the season, over 2 units on one play. We'll talk about that in a few moments. My name is Austin from Calling Our Shot. Do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe. Simple as that. I do have to note, we got to recap how we did on Thursday, and not a great start to our season. We went 0-2. Josh Allen, obviously, you're not going to get a lot of pass yards when your defense keeps scoring and they keep setting you up with like 40 yards to go. And then our SGP with Waddle, we needed 50 yards from him. He ended with 41. I know it hasn't been the greatest start to the season. Felt like we've been pretty unlucky on some reads. Let's hope that changes on Sunday, and that hopefully starts with our biggest play of the season, which I'll dive into in one moment because I need to talk about some other videos we'll have live on the channel. Number one, if you're like Austin, I don't care about player props, I just want to bet spreads and totals. Well, boom, I have a video for you. I'll link it at the top of the description. We talk about every single game, all 16, even including Thursday Night Football and Monday Night Football, and every single game on Sunday. I'll link it down there. Go check it out if you want to. Number two, we have another video dropping Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern with some more props, some more parlays, just more overall a market that I've been wanting to try out, and I think you'll have a lot of intrigue in it. So I definitely encourage you to check that video out or come back to the channel 6 p.m. Eastern time. Might already be live by the time you're watching this, and if it is, I'll link it down below in the description. But you guys came here for my biggest plays of the year. Let's dive into them. First, I want to note, I hate to do a lot of promos, but Bet365, great offer. Bet $5, get $200 in, or $200 in bonus bets. The details down below. You know where to find those things if you want to. I appreciate everyone that's ever used any of our sign up links, whether it's for Sportsbook or for like a daily fantasy app like PrizePicks, Underdog Fantasy, Sleeper, you name it. All those codes COS. All right, I'm done with the promos. Let's dive into my favorite play of the weekend. It's on a running back. Here's what we're playing for Mr. Zach Moss, the Cincinnati Bengals running back. 2.3 units risked on him today. It's going to be his rushing yards. Let's talk about how I'm breaking down the units before I even talk about why I'm going to be on Zach Moss on Sunday. Now, we have 1 unit or 1.5 units on his regular over at 47.5 rushing yards, minus 110 on Bet365. The other ones are all going to be on DraftKings. We have 60 plus, just 0.3 units, 70 plus, 0.2. And then 0.1 units on him to get 80, 90, and 100 rushing yards. You see the values on the screen, plus 165, all the way up to plus 1,200. If Zach Moss goes out for 100 plus rushing yards, I might be him. But let's talk about why I like Zach Moss. You can break it down however you want. If you don't have the ability to do alt lines, maybe you do just 1.5 units on his regular over, you do 2 units. I love Zach Moss on Sunday against the Chiefs. Now let's talk about Zach Moss, who obviously is in a change of scenery. He came over from Indianapolis Colts to Cincinnati. A lot of people thought this might be a split backfield with Chase Brown, but in week 1, looked like Moss handled the majority of the workload, 65% of snaps. He had 9 of their 12 running back carries. He didn't actually run too poorly with the ball, 44 yards on 4.9 yards per carry. The Bengals offense sucked. They faced the Patriots, a team that last year allowed 3.3 yards per carry, lowest in the NFL. I anticipate the Patriots to be once again one of the top rushing defenses in the league. Kenneth Walker is going to be out, it looks like, on Sunday. I was going to fade him, but he appears to be out. Patriots are going to be a very tough team to run on, and Zach Moss still had success, even though the Bengals offense sucked on Sunday. They were terrible. They shouldn't have lost to the Patriots. They were abysmal. 8 drives, 4 of them were 3 and outs. And then the other ones, they really struggled. And their only drive that they actually scored a touchdown on was a drive that Zach Moss got 4 carries. He had a pretty good drive, and he ended it with a touchdown. So that obviously has to build some momentum here. This will be a matchup against the Chiefs back in 2023. They allowed the 9th highest rush yards per attempt. Now, if you were to go to their Thursday night football game, you'd see Derrick Henry didn't really get a lot of workload, didn't go too hard on that. I'm not too surprised. Derrick Henry, is what he is these days. He's not a high yards per carry. I like Zach Moss a lot, and it's not like Zach Moss wasn't getting holes to hit. He averaged nearly 5 yards per carry. The issue was the Bengals couldn't sustain any drives, and that overall their offense was cooked. But now you look at this game, T. Higgins probably going to be out here. Jamar Chase and the other pass catchers, I don't have a lot of confidence in them. And if you know the Chiefs, their defense, basically begging you to run the ball or check the short routes all day long. I think this is a perfect spot for them to run the football against Kansas City. And I think this game is tight through the end. I don't think it's a blowout. In the last 3 matchups versus Kansas City in the regular season, the Bengals are 2-1 in those games, so they have won 2 of the 3. And here's how they did running the football. They really committed to the run. One of the games was on January 2nd of 2022. Mixon, obviously the running back at the time, had 12 carries for 46 yards. But then the other two, Pirine, 21 for 106, Mixon, 21 for 65 in the other one. So you saw their starting running back go over the regular lines and heck go into the 60s. If Zach Moss gets in the 60s, I consider this a big win. If he goes over his regular yardage line, I still consider it a win. Obviously, we'd love to climb the ladder a little bit, but my point is when they have won these games, it's been running the football. Now you might be like, Austin, well, they only ran it 12 times for 46 yards. That other game, well, yeah, Joe Burrow threw for 450 yards. If you think Joe Burrow's throwing for 450, by all means, please go bet it. Because based on what we saw from him in week 1, I don't know if he's got that in the tank right now, and the pass catchers definitely aren't there. But we've seen success from Zach Moss when he gets the ball. Last season, obviously with the Colts, take these numbers with a grain of salt. When he saw 10 or more rush attempts, which he did in 8 games, he hit this over in 7 of 8. He had 70-plus yards in half the games and had 100-plus in 2 of 8. If he's going to flop, sure, fine, I'll live with it. But we've seen running backs have success against the Chiefs when you actually commit to the ground game. And you look at this since 2023, start of last season, 15 running backs have 10 or more attempts. Of the 15, 10 of them at least had 50 hitting this over. 7 of the 15 had 70-plus yards. If Zach Moss can get into 70, I'll consider it a big win. His rushing attempts line sitting at 12.5. Obviously, he didn't hit that last week. I think this is Zach Moss's backfield. Chase Brown didn't get a lot of work last week. I think this is Zach Moss's backfield for the taking. I think he gets a lot of rushing attempts and a lot of upside here. Got to keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. I love Zach Moss on Sunday. You guys know I don't do more than 2 units on any play. There's a reason I really like this one. Zach Moss, we're a big fan of you. We're climbing the ladder. Zach Moss is having a monster day on the ground. Give me all the rushing yards. You can take a screenshot. This is exactly how I'm playing it. Zach Moss, I'm your #1 fan. I need a big day from you. All right, so the rest of my plays are not going to be 2+ unit plays. We're going to have a lot more 1 units, and we're going to dive into this next one, another running back that I really like. You could ladder his yards if you want to. It's Kyren Williams of the Los Angeles Rams. I really like his over 93.5 rushing plus receiving yards, -115 on DraftKings. Now, honestly, I almost ran the same play for Zach Moss. I don't mind his rushing plus receiving. I think he has a decent receiving game, but I just wanted to do his rushing yards and kind of ladder that up. Kyren Williams, I like both of his props. We saw last week he was involved a ton. He's one of the highest usage running backs in the league in terms of at least snap share, and I anticipate this will be another great matchup for him. Now, like I said, in week 1, Kyren handled a lot of the workload. He had 18 carries for 50 rush yards, chipping in 3 receptions for 4 yards. He had 1 catch go for 8. The other 2 went for -4 yards combined. Obviously not ideal, but obviously a very tough match against the Lions, one of the toughest rush defenses in the league, arguably the toughest, and they are pretty good at limiting the receiving yards to opposing backfields. Now he gets a much better matchup against the Cardinals. Last week, the Cardinals struggled, even though they had a huge lead. They're up 17-3 against the Bills. They allowed James Cook to get 71 yards on the ground and another 32 in the air. His backup, Ray Davis, had 14 receiving yards on 1 catch. So they obviously gave up a lot of rush yards there. Not a ton, but a good amount. And they were really bad last year on the ground. And they gave up some receiving yards as well. Now, if you watched how the Cardinals played the Bills last week, it was Dalton Kincaid, your #1 option. We're taking him away. They just bracketed him, put 2 high safeties. They were like, you know what? Anyone but Dalton Kincaid. Would it shock anyone now that Puka Nacua is on IR if they do a very similar thing to Cooper Kupp? No, not really. It wouldn't shock me if they're like, all right, we're putting 2 guys on Cooper Kupp, figure out somewhere else to go with it. And if that's, Matthew Stafford's first read, maybe he sees that he's bracketed, looks his other way, doesn't have the guy there, and he's like, all right, checking it down to Kyren Williams. He's leaking out. Let's have him do some damage. Could see how he gets a bunch of receiving yards. Wouldn't shock me there at all. We saw last year, Kyren Williams literally owned the Cardinals. He dominated them. He had 1 game where he had 158 rushing yards, didn't get any receiving yards, didn't matter. Then I believe he actually got injured, returned a month later, and it was against the Cardinals again. 143 on the ground, 61 through the air. He absolutely cooked them. And sure, the Cardinals can make some adjustments here, but they're going to be a team that's going to struggle against the ground game all season long. I think Kyren Williams dominates here. I consider his rush attempts line at 17.5, but he obviously has the speed to break away a big one. He clearly is the #1 guy here. Blake Corum appears to be a non-factor. He didn't even get a single snap last week. I really like Kyren Williams. I like his over 93.5 rushing plus receiving yards as my second pick in this video. Now we need an under. We can't just bet only overs. That's how you get cooked. We need some unders. And I have some more in the video dropping later today at 6 p.m. I definitely encourage you to drop into that. It's going to be a vid titled 5 or 6 props in 60 seconds. I'm only going to have 60 seconds to explain a prop. I think it's going to be a cool little premise of a video. I encourage you to check that out. This is my only under in this video. It's Malik Willis, under 166.5 passing yards, -115 on BetMGM. Now, when you're watching this video, I have no idea if Malik Willis is starting or not. Obviously, Jordan Love has not been ruled out as I record this. He's questionable. If Jordan Love plays, I will tip my cap to him. I will hope he plays the whole game, and then Malik Willis just comes in at the end for a snap and we'll cash the under. That could certainly happen, but I anticipate Malik Willis to be under center. If he isn't, fine, we'll take the void most likely here. But I look at Malik Willis and I think he's one of the worst QBs, starters, obviously, and backups. He's terrible. He's absolutely terrible. I love his under 166.5 passing yards. He's made 3 career starts. In those starts, he hasn't even broken 100 yards. 55, 80, and 99. If there's a way that this loses, it's because Matt LaFleur is a very good coach, and he schemes up some bubble screens or some just, hike, and you just drop the ball in the opposing, not the opposing team. He could do that. That's Malik Willis. But into the wide receiver's hands, and they take it for 30, 40 yards. At the end of the day, look, when I was looking at his props, his completions line was 14.5. Pretty dang low. I think Malik Willis is terrible. It's not the greatest matchup against the Colts. They did a decent job slowing down, the Texans' passing attack last week. Texans, obviously one of the best passing attacks in the league, and they gave up a ton of yards on the ground, and they'll see a lot of ground attack, especially if Malik Willis is starting here. So, look, we're fading him. I don't care. I hope he starts because I really want this one. I think this is a great way to fade Malik Willis. Give me his under 166.5 passing yards. I love this prop. Finally, I have a same game parlay that I almost put more than 1 unit on, but I'm not going to put more than 1 unit here, but I really, really like this one. It is a 3-leg same game parlay, all in the Chargers and Panthers game. And it all relies on really 3 same things. J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, Chuba Hubbard, all guys to get 25 or more rushing yards, minus 128 on FanDuel. Now, I get the critics, Austin, 3 legs, not even plus value. I get it. I wish it was plus value. But I think this should be closer to minus 300. I think this is just an absolute whale. I think this should soar over. And I'll talk about why, but I just don't think this should be minus 130, basically. I mean, these are 3 guys that should get 10 to 12, if not more carries. And if they can't get us 25 yards, then so be it. I think this is a close game. The world will be on the Chargers minus the points. Literally no one in their right mind wants to bet the Panthers. I'll let you know right now if you watch our best bets video. Logan, a Panthers fan, said to bet them. And I don't hate it. If you look at historically teams that lose by 35 or more, their recover rate the next week is like 50 and 18. So I think Chargers might be a donation, but I'm not going to bet the Panthers here. I just think this game's close. And I think there's yards on the ground for each of these backfields. Now, if we talk about the Panthers' run defense, still struggled last week. 82 yards to Kamara, 38 to Jamal Williams, and he sucks, and 35 to Taysom Hill. On the flip side, the Chargers' rush defense I like, but they still allowed 44 to Zamir White and 19 to Alexander Mattison, despite being pretty negative run script. In week 1, we saw these 2 backfields. We saw Edwards. He barely clawed over this, 11 for 26 against a tough Raiders defense. Dobbins obviously had a big day, 10 for 135. And Chuba only had 6 for 14. Obviously, I like Dobbins. He's going to be the one that I think gets 25 easily. Chuba Hubbard, he's the leader in this backfield for the Panthers. And if you remember Dave Canales, the new head coach for the Panthers, even though Rachaad White sucked last year, he still ran the ball over and over and over again. And I imagine that's going to be the case with Chuba Hubbard and maybe a little bit of Miles Sanders. And this game should be closer than the last one. I mean, look, they couldn't even run. They were down 30-0 right after the opening kickoff. They had no reason to run the ball, and Chuba basically got benched there. I think Gus Edwards has plenty of room to run against the Panthers' rush defense. I'm not too high on. And I really like these 3 legs. Look, you don't have to tail if you don't want to. But I think this, like I said, I was going to put 2 units on this, but I don't want to lose 2 units on the Panthers. I already actually have another Panther prop in the later video posted later today on Saturday. So look, I'm not going to, I love this one. Just know I love it. I think this is a winner. Finally, wrap up the video with a moneyline parlay. If you remember last week's moneyline parlay, I'll flash it on the screen, a plus 701 winner. Some people are saying we can't do it again. What do I say to that? Bet we're doing it again. 5 legs. Let's dive into the 5 legs. Here they are. Ravens, 49ers, Jets, Lions, and Steelers, all on the money line, plus 516 on DraftKings. I'm not going to dive too hard into this. I really like the Ravens. I think they take care of business against the Raiders. 49ers could be a trap spot. I think they can take care of Sam Darnold. Jets, if the Jets lose as a Jets fan, I'm going to be in shambles. Titans, please, Jets, don't. Lions, I like them against the Bucks. Then we wrap up. If you need to hedge, you have a hedge opportunity with the Steelers against the Broncos. I think they're the only 4:00 game in here. I like this one, plus 516, quarter unit. Put whatever you want on it. I really like that one. I think that's smacking. And that's going to do it for the 4 Ps. I hope you enjoyed. A reminder, if you want to sign up for Bet365, deposit $5, you get $200 in bonus bets. Cool. Sign up using that link in the description. A reminder, if you're curious about some totals and spreads and what we think and what we don't think, what we like and what we don't like, I'll link that video on the screen right here. When our other player props video, it's going to be titled, 5 or 6 props in 60 seconds. I will link it right here. You can go check it out. My final props plus another market that I have never bet on before, but I really think there's some sneaky value there. I encourage you to tap into that. I hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday, wonderful betting week, and I hope we have a dominant week 2. We get back into the green, and we just keep moving on up and making that bankroll go even higher. Let's have a great Sunday. Zach Moss, please don't break my heart. Have a good one. I'll see you guys back in the other videos. See you then. Peace. What are you doing? Go click on one of those other videos. Go. All right, I'm sorry. See you later.